When you think about powerhouses of right-wing media, you might think about Fox News. And while that's true for cable television, there's another conservative outlet that's actually wielding some massive power on social media, and you might not have even heard of it. It's actually called Conservative Brief. Now, Conservative Brief is a very small company that has a total of 3 employees. Now, that's important because I'm going to give you information. I'm going to tell you just how much reach they actually have on Facebook and how and why. So now this actually comes from reporting from Judd Legum, who wanted to find out why specific conservative pages are dominating on Facebook despite their cries of being censored and suppressed. And we've all heard that before. There isn't a day that goes by where some conservative pundit out there says, I can't believe Facebook is censoring us. It's censorship, it's oppression. They're coming after conservative voices. They're silencing conservative voices. Now, Legum writes, most people have probably never heard of the website Conservative Brief. It employs just 3 writers and does not produce any original reporting. Nearly all of its articles are aggregations of tweets, YouTube videos, or other media websites presented with a far-right spin. Recent headlines include, more damning evidence surfaces against Hillary Clinton in Durham probe, and Trump gives love to Mike Lindell. We're getting a little spicy there, aren't we?
There's some whores in this house.
Okay, no, I'm kidding. The full title is Trump gives love to Mike Lindell, showers him with praise for the good that he's done. I'm sorry. I'm a child, so, okay, anyway. Now, Conservative Brief has been cited repeatedly for publishing false claims. And yet, they have emerged in 2022 as the dominant force on Facebook and actually has become more popular than not only Ben Shapiro's outlet, Daily Wire, but also more popular than the New York Times and Washington Post. So let me stop there. If you're watching, conservatives will be like, well, of course they're dominating because, we're correct. And at the Washington Post and New York Times, they're fake news. They're fake news. And you're just jealous. Well, let me just say, I'm not a huge fan of the Washington Post or the New York Times. Both are very establishment, anti-progressive, pro-corporate. They, yes, do occasionally do some good pieces of actual journalism, and I give them the credit for that, and I like when they do that. I wish they did more. But once again, most of their reporting, I should say the vast majority, is essentially framed from the angle of being pro-business, pro-defense contractor, and pro-insider politics. A lot of their scoops are basically just industry insiders giving them tips or leaking information. A lot of it ends up being stenography for the defense contractors. But that said, for the most part, they remain in facts. Deeply immersed in factual information. Not always, as I pointed out, but generally they try to stay within the realm of reality. A lot of the conservative sites do not. The Durham probe, for example, didn't say anything about Hillary Clinton infiltrating the White House servers. It didn't have anything to do with that. But that's a claim that's echoed by the far right. Now, Legum, he looked at the engagement for Conservative Brief, and he found that their engagement on Facebook had exploded over the last year. So he cites an analysis from social media and analytics site NewsWhip. In February 2021, Conservative Brief attracted about 2,500 engagements, a combination of likes, reactions, comments, and shares per article. 2,500. Today, each article posted by Conservative Brief attracts well over 30,000 engagements. Now, they do this without even having a Facebook page of their own. Now, the Washington Post has 6.6 million followers on Facebook, and the New York Times Facebook page has 17 million. And yet, Conservative Brief blows them out of the water. They are able to attract way more engagement overall. And so when you look at this, as people do, you wonder, wait a minute, what's going on here? Something seems very, very fishy, very strange. So now, how does this happen? Now, as I said, the Conservative Brief is a small website. So now, each time the Conservative Brief publishes an article, a link to the article ends up being reposted to a network of conservative Facebook pages with incredibly large audiences. So its content is essentially being promoted massively by others, by gigantic Facebook pages. So that right there, I mean, look, you can see it's the same Lindell article reposted with pretty much the same exact wording, all from the same website, all over Facebook. Now that's very strange. Now that same article included a coupon code to purchase slippers from Mike Pillow at a 50% discount. The same day this article was published to a slew of large conservative Facebook pages, sometimes with the identical text, said the report. These same Facebook pages post links to articles from Conservative Brief, often multiple times per day. D'Souza's Facebook page, for example, posted a dozen links to Conservative Brief just on Tuesday. Why? Well, before we get into the why, here's even more information about how it actually works. So, each time these pages share content from Conservative Brief, they append something called a UTM code. And now a UTM code is a way for publishers to know precisely how much traffic comes from a particular source. Now, it's not automatically added. You've got to insert it into the link. And so now, but once you do, by appending that code, D'Souza is basically, and that's one of the examples of these Facebook pages, Dinesh D'Souza's page. Basically, it allows Conservative Brief to see how much traffic each one of these pages brings to their site. Now, the pages themselves do not have access to this information. Only Conservative Brief has access to that information provided by this code. So now, how does that help these pages? Like Dinesh D'Souza, for example. Well, think about it. The site has no original content. It just amplifies other conservative content. And so the thinking is, well, somebody's getting money for it. There's money changing hands. Somebody's getting paid, of course. And it's really the only thing that makes sense. The right wing has billionaires with very, very deep pockets and a very cohesive, effective media strategy. Unlike the left, they do have the money and they also cross-collaborate a lot. And so now I always wondered, like, wait a minute, there's so many different right-wing outlets here. There's so many different pages. How are they so effective at being able to cross-pollinate each other? They must be, working together and very cohesive, very tight-knit, right? No, it turns out they're all basically paid. And this is just a gigantic media propaganda op. I mean, they're not in competition like many of the content creators on the left feel that they are. These people are all working for the same deep-pocketed organizations and people for the same goals. And that goal, of course, is generally anything that helps the corporations, the corporate donors. Tax cuts for the rich, deregulation for corporations, billionaires. They're able to save a lot of money. The rich get richer. And they do so by, of course, distracting the people with bullshit culture war issues and fake news. Or at least, of course, having very misleading spins on the news. And Facebook, unfortunately, allows them to get away with it because at the end of the day, they're a giant corporation and they benefit from conservative rule. They're definitely afraid of being called liberal. And, especially when, of course, you have every conservative screaming about how they are censoring and canceling conservative voices. That, of course, is absolutely not true at all. Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire, for example, has some of the top content on Facebook every day. And now it used to be more, but it turns out Daily Wire was also caught doing this very same thing, paying another company, Mad World News, to spread traffic, their articles and their videos and things like that, their content all around that network and all their affiliated pages. Now, when they were caught, Facebook actually gave Daily Wire a warning, but punished Mad World News. They demoted them so their reach is not as far. Now, they were given this warning and punished because it's actually against the Facebook's own rules that state that Facebook pages cannot accept anything of value to post content that does not feature themselves or that they were not involved in creating. So now they don't do that anymore, allegedly. But there is a link between Mad World News and Conservative Brief. Turns out one of the writers who worked at Mad World News is now the editor-at-large for Conservative Brief. That's weird. It must be a coincidence, right? Who knows? Now, look, that's the link. Yes, they're getting paid to spread this this conservative outlet that's nothing more than an aggregator, these pages, and it is backed by big money. Now, Facebook has been warned about this. Likem warned them last year and said, hey, look, you need to check out this site. This is weird. I'm noticing a very strange pattern. Facebook says, oh, we'll get on it. We'll look into it. And what's happened since? Nothing. Nothing. Oh, we're still looking into it, guys. We haven't figured it out yet. It's very, very obvious. Look, now, I was going to ask, like, oh, what, you know, like, are they going to crack down on this? I don't think so. I think it's very unlikely unless there's a lot of attention and a lot of outrage. Maybe the company can be shamed into doing something, especially since they're now on this PR tour trying to say, oh no, Facebook, Meta, I'm sorry, Meta is good. No, Meta's not pushing right-wing disinformation. What are you talking about? No, we're a great company. In fact, we deprioritized our newsfeed. Well, this site, Conservative Brief, seems to have bucked that trend and seems to have beaten your attempts to deprioritize news because it is everywhere sharing the same type of conservative propaganda that Daily Wire had gotten in trouble for paying another site to spread. So, no, there is something going on, and they have to be called out for it. There has to be outrage here. And I don't even know if that'll do it. But what I do know is if nobody says anything, nobody does anything, well, then they're not going to fix it because they'll just keep allowing them to get away with it. And that's not right. It's an uneven playing field, when you can just buy your way to the top, buy yourself some fake reach. And by the way, this shows another thing, right? That it's not the conservative ideas and ideals and policy positions that are popular, and that's why they're so big. Once again, it proves that this is just more astroturfing from wealthy billionaires.